Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Life as a Chad podcast. And I thank you for being here and hanging out. And I have an absolutely fun, hilarious show to react to today. And I'm sorry if I look like shit, as it is 4:18 in the morning. And I actually get up about 3:30, and I saw this video, and I just I could not resist. It's too good. It is too good, and we have to react. A little bit of background on it before I play it. The You Are Here podcast is look at the You Are Here podcast is has Elijah Schaefer and Sydney Watson. Sydney Watson is Australian and obviously attractive. I mean, I would probably, I don't know. She's not the most attractive. I'd probably give her, I don't know, 6, 7. On a good day, maybe pushing 8. Not that I look anything crazy this morning, but and I wouldn't say that any of that necessarily matters, except that, quite frankly, one of the biggest reasons she's on this show is that, and I think that is one of her failings in this show. And I don't know if you've noticed this yet, but already twice there, well, 3 times really, there has been all kinds of, I wouldn't say in Nick Fuentes's case and Kai's case, my dude, my guy Cobra Kai, that it was drama riddled like it was with what is that guy's name? Jack Murphy. But you have to admit, in about a month span, I mean, there's been a good amount of stuff on the You Are Here podcast. And in my opinion, it has nothing to do with Elijah. Elijah is always the relief of the podcast. He's always, you can always hear him, laughing in the background and having a good time, and being a normal dude, being stoic. Whereas Sydney is the one who's always mother henning and just browbeating. And I think it is something to pay attention to, because I'm not sure that this dynamic is ultimately going to work, as it seems to be happening more frequently. Now, that's not the whole point of this video. I just wanted to point a few things out. I wanted to give some respect to my guy Kai. I think he was well spoken, and I think he killed it. I think he absolutely killed it. I don't think he could have looked any better, and I don't think Sydney could have looked any worse. But before we get into it, I want to ask you to smash that subscribe button, because, well, subscribing makes you feel good. And at the very least, like, comment, share. You know the drill. I kind of want to push this over a little bit. There we go. You know the drill. All right. Without further ado, let's get into this. By the way, the guy who uploaded this on YouTube is his YouTube channel is called Groyper Clips. So I hope he does not get upset with me using his upload. Now, technically, You Are Here is not his material. So, but I think it'll be okay. I think a fellow Groyper will be okay with me using the content and sharing it out. But there you go. This is Groyper Clips. Excellent channel. I love everything this dude posts. And so, all right, let's take a look at this. Let's go all the way at the beginning. Okay. Well, actually, you know what? I kind of want to start it right here. Let's start it right here. Because I want to show you her emotions.
And then, he's a good human. I don't know you well enough to comment. You seem like a really sweet person, though. And I, just because I disagree with you in terms of what you're saying doesn't mean that, I have hostility towards you, because I certainly don't.
Likewise. Well, and the one thing that I would probably
look at that. But let's go all the way back. All the way back.
Sydney, just a simple question. You value freedom. You value the ideals of the Constitution.
Because, see, Sydney is a classic millennial, libertarian, just leave my stuff alone. That is who she is. Okay. You leave me alone. Non-aggression principle, dude. Non-aggression principle, dude. That's all you need. I wish they just leave. If only they would just leave us alone. And I'll be honest, even I occasionally would think that, how hard is it to leave someone alone? And then we fast forward to present day, and we realize that from certain entities, certain organizations, certain parties, certain individuals, it is what they do. They don't leave you alone, and they never will. That is why libertarianism is most assuredly a pipe dream. And in my opinion, and I'm not going to get into why I think libertarianism would not work, but I'll just put it to you like this, okay? If we look at the response from much of the people in the United States to COVID, much of the sheep when it comes to COVID, most people have absolutely acquiesced to the request of the government, as well as any authority that they have heard on the subject. And the reason why that's relevant is because if you wanted to instill a libertarianism society or an anarchic society, well, you would need people who were self-sufficient and could make decisions on their own, who were more sheep herders than sheep. And as we see with COVID, that is simply not the case. Plus, well, never mind. I won't get into all that. Here we go.
I imagine you value freedom of speech. Freedom of speech was never contextualized or never conceptualized to mean pornography, really explicit, grotesque stuff. And even legally, with the Miller test, it shouldn't be allowed. So why?
Man, it's just, it's so funny because the last video, she was doing the same thing. She's, how dare you, come on my show and have 10 seconds of conversation. And it's just like, man, if your side of things, and just if we weren't clear, Sydney's side of things is the millennial boomer, leave Matt alone, libertarianism. And man, she is just riddled with emotion.
I mean, is it past just the constitutional allowance or the forging of freedom of speech and expression, or do you have like a personal, everybody should be able to access porn? Like, where's your angle of that from?
Dude, what? I am like very anti.
So Kai is asking, are you just simply against it, or is there some meaningful reason and, ending pornography is not the ends to your means? It is not the ending point to the means by which you get stuff done.
T-porn.
Okay. Will you do anything about it?
Well,
find out on OnlyFans.
Yeah. No. If the answer is no, then the way that I've characterized this still stands, because I never said, Sydney, you support pornography.
What are you doing about porn then?
I am using platforms that have it all.
See, Sydney would never admit this, okay? But 100%, she is absolutely the right-wing version of thoughterry. And I remember I saw a video from my boy Nick saying basically that that us men needed to immediately unsubscribe from all female content. And I listened to his reason why, and he was absolutely correct. He was absolutely correct. And so if you're still subscribed to some female right-wing you need to end that immediately.
All over to
Sydney,
tell people that if
listen, Sydney is a thought through and through. Let's look at her YouTube channel right quick and look at some of the photos that she posts as her thumbnail. Okay. Now, in fairness, a lot of guys do this too. Okay. Look.
Time for a serious chat.
Oh,
because
gosh. Time for a serious chat. So we have the professional photo here looking off into the distance. She is a professional woman, and she is going to get stuff done. Looking at her promising future into the distance. Look, there we go. Now, is this the worst thing of all? No, but even I would be lying saying that a small part of this is not due to the validation and communication that you get from posting. Okay. It is awesome. Okay. And so I would be lying if I said it wasn't. But point is, she is absolutely 100% a thought. Here we go. Let's go back.
If they do it, they're cucks because, they are sexualizing and masturbating to women that are not there and having sex with other men. So by definition, cuckolds.
Well, I suppose I do the same thing because I'm like, don't watch porn. It's bad for your
but
brain.
here's the difference. If we were to ask, well, what are you doing as the leader of a country? I'd say, really easy. Using the guidelines, the Supreme Court and the Constitution.
So the point Kai's going to make here is spot on. I mean, from one of the biggest problems with conservatism has been the inability to, or unwillingness. It's not just an inability. Oftentimes it's an unwillingness to assert and put into practice this worldview that we so staunchly believe is right. And the reality is, if you think that your worldview is the correct one and it is righteous and it is morally good, then you should have zero problem enforcing it in society. And that is the crux of this argument. Sydney has a huge problem enforcing moral rights. She has almost as big of a problem forcing moral rights from someone very right of center like Kai, a fellow Groyper, than she does from libtards. Okay. And again, as I've said, that ultimately what that type of non-authoritative attitude gets you is what we currently see, which is a country where the left wing has totally dominated and totally implemented because they have had zero resistance.
Constitution have given us. I am going to make it impossible to run a pornographic site. The first thing, and by the way, if we're being politically pragmatic, which you can be, you put blocks on, you put age verification.
Very true. It's you'd be surprised at what you can accomplish by just putting in a little bit of effort.
Verification. They did this in the UK. You need to verify that you are 18 or 21 to access pornographic material. Another thing, you don't allow any advertising for it. You use now state media and public health education to tell people that there are really negative outcomes. There's antisocial behavior.
Listen, I have a bachelor's degree an AA degree and a master's degree in psychology. And by the way, I went to 2 Christian universities. So you needn't go, well, you got a secular education, Nolan. Not really. Okay. And I mean, obviously, it's kind of hard to escape sometimes, but I escaped it as much as one could. The antisocial behavior, the physical adaptation that your body has, such as serotonin being released, dopamine being released, and basically your pleasure reward saying, good job, boy, you're getting some, all of that. It's just all totally negative consequences. And you know what? There's the 80-20 rule where they say that 20% of guys are getting all the ladies and the other 80% are getting nothing. Well, that doesn't really surprise me because about 80% of men are masturbators. That's all they do. So they are coomers. So that number checks
there are
out.
Awful fantasies surrounding with a lot of porn use. John has got a really great dissertation out about this. I would use, and we've seen this to be effective, the state
Dissertation? Is John Doyle in school?
To basically say these things are harmful, these things are not good. We did this with drugs. There's a reason why people have the ideas about drugs that they do now. If you eliminated the state, you would eliminate public education about drug use, and there would be no fill-in. What you would
I used to be exactly like Sydney, where now, not necessarily exactly, but I used to lean more towards the government is bad no matter what. And the reality is that just simply cannot be the case because, well, how did we get this amazing civilization if not for the monarchies of the past and the governments put into place? Government can be excellent if qualified and competent people are in place.
Would have, on the other hand, is an entire new market of drug dealers who are saying, well, we actually have alternative science. And we've seen that science can be bought out. They did this with the Food and Drug Administration decades back.
Oh, and guess what they're currently doing it with? Vaccines.
When they told you, oh, actually, you ever heard about the food pyramid? You need to be having so much like grains and whatnot. You need to be having all these carbohydrates.
Dude, I love this. This is awesome.
And they totally lied to you. They fed people a diet that made them obese and unhealthy. Ultimately, by not allowing the state to do things that are good, to wrap this all up, you are allowing these things to fester because the natural.
That is so true. I mean, it's like an open wound. The longer you neglect, which is really what Sydney's saying. Sydney is basically saying, let's just neglect it because we do not have the authority to tell you that you can't do it, that it is illegal. So we will just let it fester. And ultimately, the end result of the festering wound is better than saying or implementing a strategy to clean out the wound before the end result.
Trend of people when they are removed from control and when they are removed from positive influence, not even authoritarian influence, just positive influence, telling people to do good things, not necessarily even making them illegal, but telling them to do good things and having an authority that does that. If you leave them to their own devices, they are always going to come up with more ways to self-destruct.
By the way, I've been meaning to say this. The reason why I identify with the Groyper so much, even though technically I'm a millennial, I was, born in 1994, but my generation is closer to Zoomers than it is to millennials, okay? But technically it falls into millennials. But the reason why I can join with them spiritually and have some compassion and understanding is because, and root for them is because, well, they are the homies I grew up with in the suburbs in high school and middle school. You know, my fellow, you know, awesome white buddies in the suburban neighborhoods, you know, and I absolutely 100% relate to them. Absolutely.
And the spirit of the nation, the health of the nation, is going to be reduced to ashes.
So you want the government to determine what's right and wrong?
No.
Yes,
I
Sydney.
want to be in the government determining what's right and wrong.
So you want to? So you want the government if?
Yeah, okay, that is an important distinction. What Kai just said there is no. I don't want the government in and of itself to determine what is right and wrong. I want to be in the government determining what is right and wrong and use government by means to an end result.
If you were in charge, to be determining for other people what's right and wrong.
To implement what I believe is right and wrong. The reason I disagree with the rhetorical characterization is because I don't believe the government makes decisions. I believe the people in the government make decisions.
Absolutely. The government in and of itself is just an idea. It's a building. You know, it cannot make decisions. But let's keep going here.
The government is a
So
tool,
the
like a gun.
unchecked group of people who pass legislation based on what they want to do. That's
No, but that's Sydney. That's what he's arguing, is that it's time to check their power and implement what we know to be right. Because what are you saying, Sydney? That your view, which is basically just sit back and allow the wound to fester, that is the better option? No.
what you
Well,
want.
you're adding all these modifiers that I've not conceded to. Who
Well,
says
you're
that
adding all
my
these
government is an
modifiers.
unchecked group of people? I appoint, like many leaders, democratically elected leaders in the
Oh,
past,
gosh.
people who agree with me, people who care about the health of the nation. There is this political idea.
I honestly, guys, I don't think Sydney is gonna make it. She is, you know, she is short-tempered. Well, to be honest, and pretty much the big reason why what made this video, she's not conservative. She's not. I guarantee when she first started making content, she was dating some, conservative mofo dude who she's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna make some conservative content," and she did. And because she is mildly attractive, she was able to get some traction from the dork conservative boomers.
Of the delegate
But she's
or
not
of the
conservative.
representative. I believe, if I'm characterizing this correctly, people vote in delegates because they believe the delegates are going to make better decisions for the country. All of this is democratic. People
All right, let's fast forward.
of a platform about rights or authoritarianism, more than you care about the actual ability to use those rights.
This is so spot on. This sums up Sydney's worldview perfectly.
More than you care about the actual ability to use those rights or to live healthily and in an ordered society. I care more about how you're living than the basis for the way you got there.
Yeah.
That's
spot on. It is spot on. And I think it's pretty simple. I think, someone like my boy Kai, that type of worldview is, well, it actually makes a difference. Whereas Sydney's doesn't really. I mean, what type of resistance has the current conservative movement outside of the Groypers had any resistance towards globalism or leftism? Zero. I mean, what has Sydney's worldview and going on YouTube complaining and making money by complaining, what has that accomplished? Well, guess what? We now have Drag Queen Story Hour. We now have fascist COVID regulations and mandates. We now have gay marriage. We now have abortion legal. I mean, what else is there? What else is
I
there?
think it's so funny we blame everyone's dictators because we fucked it up.
yeah.
Like that was the solution. It's gotten so bad.
Because she's not conservative,
That's
man.
like we're gonna need to just
We're
put
living in hell.
an autocrat in and
I
just
think
fucking-
By the way, you're going to notice the "You Are Here" white knight. See, this is what you need to realize is, if you're a dude watching this, is no matter what, when a chick is implemented into a group environment, it always changes, and there's always the alpha, there's always the beta, and there's always the white knight type character. Guys, in school we learned about this every which way you could. Okay, this is a reality of social dynamics.
I think
our
my
enemies
point has
out,
been
and I'm
proved.
like, wow, we're here. Okay, and I
Yeah,
just
we're-
Yeah, I'm gonna dress like a skater, dude. He's probably never skated in his life.
Hell.
You are here. You are here.
Turn the flames up.
I don't know. I find
Dude, you
that to be
couldn't
hilarious.
take
That
the
like
flames.
it's just people feel so pushed into a corner. We're like just back. It's like, all right.
I will actually
right about
come to you
that.
on this a little bit. I think it's funny that Zoomers are the ones doing it. Of all the people to be this right-wing uprising, it's the guys who are going to drive a mentally ill person into a music career on TikTok. I think that's a
I think it's awesome, and it doesn't really surprise me at all, because in every aspect of life, well, what do they say when someone is addicted to something? They won't make the change until they hit rock bottom. If there's a little bit of hope of survival while they are going through that without hitting rock bottom, then they will keep going down the same destructive path that they are going down. The only time they will make a change is once they hit rock bottom. And currently, America is hitting rock bottom.
it's a weird kind of aligning of the stars.
Is it because you guys don't have any idea of consequence yet?
Yeah, yeah, I think.
Oh gosh. Did you see that look he gave to Sydney? Oh my god.
It's a weird kind of aligning of the stars.
Is
But
it because you guys don't have any idea of consequence yet?
Yeah, yeah.
I think
'Cause you're too
I
young.
very well conceptualized it because I
Realistically.
understand the consequences
did
of
in the
allowing
60s.
pornography
They
to
changed the
manifest
country.
the way it does.
They changed the country in the '60s for the way that it is. They pushed the movement. It wasn't. They wouldn't design
Yeah, and
the
they
movement.
ruined the.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. In the 60s, the youth were the ones who drove society. And yes, did it end up being terrible? Sure. Did their movement end up coming up short? Absolutely, 100%. But just because their movement came up short, there's a lot of other movements who have not come up short, and who have done great, done excellent.
The country.
But they pushed it, and it just makes me laugh that we're back to this like young people.
I mean, if movements were just destined for failure because of previous failures, then nobody would, there wouldn't have been anyone who would have disbanded from Rome, or the American, well, not American, the colonies would have never rebelled against the crown.
Want to radically change the country,
Come on, dude,
but in like
that's
a way
just
that
a
it wasn't.
terrible
Like in the '60s, it's like the same thing. Where I'm saying we had young people who like took our country away from what it was, radically transformed it into a country that I hate. Now we have another young group.
And again, furthermore, they were left wing. And if you believe that your stance is correct and morally backed up, then it doesn't matter what they did, because theirs was left wing. It was always doomed to fail. It was morally bankrupt and corrupt. Whereas yours, if it is not, then it's totally different.
People that like want to turn us into a Chinese like.
Well, to
it
be
scares
fair,
me. It
yeah,
actually,
honestly,
I'm scared.
I'm
No, he's not. He's starting to like the
I don't want
Groypers.
that myself.
Good.
but
I'm
also,
approaching
like,
this.
It's kind of fucking hilarious.
I'm approaching this.
And by the way, okay, Kai is totally respectful, chill. He is articulate. He is presenting his case better than any conservative. How often have we seen conservatives go on these shows and just complain about this and complain about this, and I finally had to stop watching it because ultimately there's no implementation to make it change.
Very
Accept it.
rhetorically about like, good decisions need to be made, and I'm approaching it very authoritarian. But My real idea of where the country should be is far more conducive to the founding of the country
Yeah.
in reality,
Yep.
which is, I believe, in natural aristocracy.
Let's
Edmund Burke,
go.
the founding thinker of conservatism, echoed this idea, partly because he was a very intelligent
Let's
person
go.
born below because of his, circumstance, and because he believed in this natural aristocracy, he was able to rise up to the House of Commons and the House of Lords, I believe, if I'm remembering the era correctly. But I do believe in a republic. I believe in a
Me too, baby. Me too. Republics have absolutely worked in history. Now, I think if we were to bring that back, we would need to implement some strategies to stop America from becoming what it has become now. And we've seen it happen to Rome, and we let it happen yet again in America.
a representative form of government. But I believe that the
All right, let's
government
get to
has
Sydney.
a part in
Here we
Love the
go.
fact
I'm not
that you hate
mad, I'm
Zoomers
just-
so much.
I
because
just
it's
really,
even-
I just really do because I don't want to take
I didn't
cues
know
on
this till
politics
tonight.
from 21-year-olds. Like I just don't.
Ah!
Because I'm sorry, like when I was 21, I was a potato head.
Guess how old I am.
Yeah, and guess what? You're listening to your politics from boomers who are the worst generation ever. They will die with they will end up dying with having spent the most money ever. They will be the first generation to die without a net positive amount of money remaining, meaning they did not produce more than they spent.
22.
19.
Yeah, I'm like I don't want to take cues on
19.
life from like
Jeez.
Come on, you don't want the
11-year-olds. I
19-year-old
just
running the
don't-
country?
Yeah.
Well, because the fact of the matter
There he
is,
goes.
We can fight our wars. but
Yeah.
I think that like
True.
I
Well,
think
yeah.
Now, in fairness, that's his job as the sound guy, is to invoke the flames and go, "Oh, but, well, what about this? What about this? You know, that's kind of his job. But this is the second time I've seen him wipe Knight yet again.
Yeah, they can go die on the front lines.
Young-
It doesn't require any thinking.
Well,
And
that's
these
true.
are the people who are in charge. They're the ones saying the 19-year-olds will die on the front lines because they're not intelligent enough. No, no, no,
Nice.
no. We're the generation that's saying we don't want 16-year-olds to vote. Those guys are retarded. But we also realize the guys that are in power are kind of retarded too. So we understand
Preach, preach, Kai, preach.
very crucially, and John Doyle says this all the time, that we need to step up. I'm not saying that the entire country needs to be run
Right.
by 19-year-olds because I don't trust most 19-year-olds. But I
But the morally strong of us who know what is right need to stand up and be a man and do what is right and be immovable, because if just some of us were to stand together, let's go.
do believe in the conservative principle of a natural aristocracy. There are natural aristocrats who have born ability to govern countries well, effectively, and virtuously. If you read Aristotle, you understand there are virtuous people to be looked after, and those people are not necessarily bound by their age. And by the way, if
That is so true. Just because you're older does not mean therefore you are more virtuous. That's not how that works. It's just not.
we're looking at the track record of older people, many of the detriments in this country have been caused by older people, saying
Dang, I mean, Kai is just going check, bing, 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 bing.
that young people can't switch it up. Well, I don't
That's
know.
not what
Maybe
I'm
that's
saying.
So
I
was the
just- I don't
revolution
Yeah, it is.
a
interest
mistake?
views
politics.
on like how the country, or how anything should be run from people with like very
Here goes Sydney again. You know, you can't talk about relationships unless you've been with a while, man. You know, unless you've been with me since you. I'm not going to go down that. You know, ultimately, that's what it is that she is upset that she has a group of guys who are not actually interested in her.
little life experience.
Yeah, hold on.
Like,
By that
can I just
logic,
say-
wasn't the
No
revolution a
debunk.
mistake?
can I like finish a point?
Alexander
like,
the Hamilton was
possible
60.
to
Look at, can I look up, boy? Let's go, bro. Let's go.
the country, or how anything should be run from people with like very little life
Yeah,
experience?
hold on.
Like,
By that
Go
logic,
ahead.
wasn't the
No-
revolution
no
a
debunk.
mistake?
Can I like finish a point?
Alexander
like,
the
is
Hamilton
it
was
possible
16.
to talk without being interrupted? Like
You're making me
for
laugh.
real? All I'm gonna add here, right? Because I don't want anything that I think to be misrepresented.
Okay, Sydney, you can have the floor, okay? Because what you have to say is so important.
I've really said very little about any of this. I don't want to take cues from Zoomers. I'm sorry, because like I said, there's 5 talking points the majority of Zoomers have. They just use these little trigger words to base cringe. Like it's annoying, and I don't think it adds a tremendous amount of value to any conversation.
But Sydney, that's what you are basically. You are more like akin to that than you are to Kai.
I think it's wonderful that you're so well read. Honestly, I have a lot of respect for that, and particularly it sounds like you're really into philosophy, which I think is great. That's why I respect John a lot, because often when he says things, he is coming from at least, some sort of educated place. Whether or not these ideas work in theory, I don't know. When we talk about
work in theory, no, it would be whether or not those things work in practice. We know they work in theory.
Leadership and what have you, I think that, a core point that you're missing here is it's not that people who are older are stupid and don't get it. It's that they've gamed the system. They get the system, they've gamed it, and they're going to take as much advantage.
Oh my gosh. Sydney. They gamed the system? They get the system? I don't even know what to say. I mean, if they understand the system so well, then why are they not the ones currently defeating it and currently saving us from, the fascism of the American regime? It's because, no, they don't know anything
of it as they can to line their own pockets at the detriment of you and me and Elijah and everybody in this
Okay, that's true. That's
studio
true.
right now. The other thing I want to add too about autocrats is this is a bad idea no matter who is running the country. And John made the point on another show that we had where he said if we had an autocrat in power and it was a right.
Ultimately, Sydney is someone who she has zero implementation. She is someone who is on the sidelines and claps and also goes, boo, which, there's always those types of people. There's always those types of people. Don't be one of those people.
Right-wing autocrat, we've been taught basically to think that having any sort of totalitarianism or any sort of authoritarianism is a bad thing, unless that authoritarianism is reflecting our own values back to us. Maybe there's a point to be made there. I don't think that there is, because I like to think about the fact that if that were to ever fall, you've set yourself up a perfect opportunity for someone to come along and abuse that. Let's be real. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Greed is a thing that exists in
That's a good point.
people. People take advantage of situations.
But again, that's not what Kai's saying. He's not saying that they need to implement a China style, Russian style. He is jokingly saying that they need to use some authoritative tactics, but he's also being serious in order to go back to the Republic.
Situations that are afforded to them where they can, in fact, like I said, game the system. That's my position on this. Can we go back to reading Supers?
Yes, can I just say this real fast, Sydney? I don't like seeing you get pissed off.
I'm not pissed off. I'm just like.
But
Yes, you are, Sydney. Literally, look at her. Look at this. This is a perfect picture. Look at her demeanor right here. And look at Elijah. Look at my boy Elijah. Man.
When I find out, I didn't know you had a strong opinion on Zoomers, and just like I find
I've literally said this on so many shows. Like everyone.
Gosh, she is like a look at this. Look at this, man. And she wonders why men just don't want any of it anymore, because the juice is not, I repeat, it is not worth the squeeze, especially when the squeeze is given for free.
Blames the boomers. You know who the worst
I love
generation is?
boomers.
Gen X and Gen Z. They suck. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Gen X is okay, but like Gen Z is like my least favorite because they are the most mollycoddled, pain in the ass group of people that I ever have to come into contact with. I'm not a fan.
I think I like the Zoomers because I think
Now, this is where we're about to end it, because this has been too long anyways. But Elijah has a perfect answer to this. Oh, sorry.
In charge. Like they're way worse than millennials, and I hate millennials.
I think they're focused, and I think that they're more likely to be in charge than any.
They are very focused. They, what is it? What's Kai's generation? I'm forgetting. It's my little sister's generation too. Whatever it's called. Kai's generation. They are focused.
Dude, they're the most
generation right now.
narcissistic generation. They're going TikTok with little pointing and they're
No,
dancing,
not,
and it's
not
like,
them.
Don't you do that, Sydney?
oh my god, add value, add value.
Not them. I just see that the right way. I see that
That's
the right wing, that the Gen Z. Here's what I'll say: they're idealists
exactly how Sydney is feeling on the inside.
and they're young and they don't have a lot of life experience, but
Yeah,
they're
of
more.
course
but,
you can be
but,
an idealist when you've
but
achieved, when you've
that's-
done
but
nothing.
what
Great. Was that worth interrupting King Elijah?
I've noticed is that a lot of them are well read, meaning they're getting back to the core tenets of what makes a strong Western nation. Now, pair that
Yeah.
down the road with life experience and an understanding and opportunity.
You couple understanding and knowledge with, in about 10 years, life experience, and you have a perfect match.
Meaning, as they're not even old enough to actually be in the government, I think there's a lot of hope for Gen Z from a lot of these strong characters that come out of it that are really learning to say the uncomfortable truths about in Western society and culture. So, like, of course, that's why I
Both of us
laugh,
got
because I don't
watches
think the
on,
end is to
Elijah.
be a
Let's
dictator.
go.
Or the authoritarianism is the mood, and I think that their movement will develop over time.
Yeah.
But I don't dismiss them because I see the striving for the idealism will.
You know why? Because ultimately Elijah is tired of losing. I've heard him say it on his show multiple times. He has said he is tired of losing. And frankly, so am I. So are most kings.
Will develop as they get older, I believe, and see the world is different. But starting at an ideal place and not at a hopeless, like black-pilled or corrupt pace, to me is like the best chance we have yet.
Yeah.
But obviously now it's like you can serve in Congress or be the president when you're 19.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried. And I think as you get older, get married, have kids, things happen in their lives, they will become more well-rounded. But
I couldn't have said it better myself,
I
Elijah.
would trust the country in their hands long term. That's why you have to be a certain age to be in the government. Hell yeah, I don't think a 19-year-old should be president.
Yeah.
No way. And even 35, I think is too young to be president personally. I think you should be like at least 50, maybe 55.
Well, yeah, Teddy Roosevelt, he was
I don't know.
38,
I don't know
JFK.
about. I don't know about that.
but-
I was just saying, like, for the most part, like, I want someone with a
Jeez. Look at that look she gave Kai.
lot of
Man.
life experience and seeing the country over multiple decades.
She
But that
is
life
running it.
experience, just to caveat this, I
Huge.
don't think should be in a political sense. It should be in a hands-on experience. I've done some shit kind of sense. Like if you run a
Yeah. Sydney, have you done that? Have you run a business? Because guess what? The Groypers are the only right-wing site to have started their own site. Remember when all the banning was going on of right-wing voices and all these people said, well, just start your own. Just start your own. Well, guess what? They did. They did.
business, I think that's great. You actually have a comprehension of economics, of employing people, of taxes, what have you. I mean, there's a lot of people in government who've achieved fucking nothing, who've done nothing, and
well,
yet they want to tell you how to live your life when they've had a silver spoon in their mouth.
No, that's true. That's true.
They've had the entirety of theirs. I mean, and also too, when I hate on Zoomers, by the way, my when I think of Zoomers, I think of these little TikTok potatoes. I'm sure that there's a very large portion of Zoomers who are not that. I am yet to come into contact with many of them that are not. And the few that I know, you know, John, again, is a wonderful human being. I love John. John, sometimes I'm just like, no, just no. What you're saying is no. But he's a good person.
Man, there. I don't think this is gonna work out. Elijah would be so much better off running the show with his wife, who is super sweet, super feminine. Whereas Sydney, the more I see her, the more she becomes masculine and, you know, just no, you know, because that is how she sees it. She looks at somebody like John Doyle and Kai, and she sees it like that she is the ultimate authority to go yes or no.
You know, he's a good human. I don't know you well enough to comment. You seem like a really sweet person, though. And I, you know,
Aw.
just because I disagree with you in terms of what you're saying.
And let's ask this question, okay? Who looks more reasonable in this video? Sydney? With resting bitch face? Or my boy Kai? I think the
It
answer
doesn't
is
mean
pretty
that, I
easy.
have hostility towards you, because I
Hey.
certainly don't.
Likewise, likewise. Well, and the one thing that I would probably agree with you on is that I think right now Gen Z, especially with how terminally online we are, we get way too committed to the bit. And I think one thing that is actually it's a little bit concerning, and I don't mean to counter signal anything, but it is important that we kind of refocus on a lot of these issues. We become more politically pragmatic, and ultimately we try and set in motion the things that we want to set in motion.
Right.
One of those things is actually, relations with women. This is the pendulum swinging. There's a red pill on women, which is, women have been invited to a lot of.
No, Kai is right. At the end of the day, as far as the intersexual dynamics go, a lot of men, when they take the red pill, when it comes to intersexual dynamics, get angry and they start hating women. Okay. No. That's the wrong answer. Ultimately, you take the red pill so that you know the truth and that you are indifferent. You are indifferent because you took the red pill. Because whether it is simp loving or loving through simping or hating because you got the red pill, it's all this. It's virtually the same because it's attention.
Circles,
and that's what they
in
want.
These circles, they are going to change the behavior of men. That is largely the fault of men who can't stay consistent and who allow themselves to lust after these women. But it is also a statement about, the different roles that men and women have. I mean, conservatively, it's just very true that men and women occupy different roles. This is a religious perspective. It's a humanist perspective, and it's simply true. So the red pill on women is don't allow yourself to lust after them. Don't allow yourself to be won over by them, to sacrifice your own ideals. There is, however, the pendulum swing the other.
That is absolutely true. As I don't necessarily agree with what's his name, Rolo, on everything. Ultimately, he has zero receipts to show his evidence of the intersexual dynamics, but a lot of his theories seem very accurate, and one of them is exactly what Kai just said here.
So the red pill on women is don't allow yourself to lust after.
You must, I just needed to play it to remind myself of what he was saying. You must bring her into your world and still lead your world. She needs to be a part of your world, not the other way around. Too many guys immediately become a part of her world. No. You're the man. It is your world, and you lead on. And if she wants to be a part of it, that's all she'll be, is an aspect of it, a part of it.
After them, don't allow yourself to be won over by them, to sacrifice your own ideals. There is, however, the pendulum swing the other direction, which is, I'm so based. When I do have a wife, I'm not even going to want to have sex with her. And it's like, okay, I mean, what are you talking about? And so it gets to the.
All right, guys, that is going to do it. I just wanted to leave it on that thumbnail right there. Let's see if we can get a perfect thumbnail of Sydney being pissed. It's just,
because I understand
again,
the consequences of allowing
60s,
pornography to
the
manifest
country.
the way it does.
They changed the
listen, guys, in conclusion, I'm not sure, and I've already said it, I'm not sure Sydney is going to work out on this show. I think there's many examples of her already just causing all kinds of problems, because she is highly emotional. And as for this video, if we were to ask ourselves who seemed more reasonable, the answer is simple. It was Kai. And if you need any evidence that Sydney is not just like is actually different than all the liberal feminist women, think again. After you just saw this, do you still think that? No, she is absolutely 100% the exact same. She has feminism coursing through her veins. She hates the things that Kai's saying. She hates it when men lead their own life and lead on, walk on. And, ultimately, that's her biggest problem with a guy like Kai and Nick Fuentes, is that they are leading the destiny of their own lives as men. So this was, in conclusion, this was a bad showing for Sydney. and I kind of feel like I am, never mind. This is just a bad showing for Sydney and Kai. Congrats, man. You presented yourself well. You are a king, my brother, and keep up the good work. Well spoken, articulate, and a lot of promise, lot of promise. So keep up the good work, King. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to smash that subscribe button because, well, subscribing makes you feel good. And at the very least, like, comment, share. You know the drill. Thank you for watching the Life as a Chad YouTube channel. I will see y'all next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.